Hello, everybody, and welcome to the May 2022 Cigar Peg Virtual Keynote Speaker Showcase. All of our virtual speakers who are in the showcase will be nominated for the 2022 Virtual Speaker Hall of Fame. You can anytime go back to Virtual Speakers Hall of Fame. You can watch the showcases in their entirety. You can check out any of the speakers individually. Each speaker has a page that you can click on their website. You can click on their video. And hey, feel free to contact any speaker that you like directly. Don't have to go through me. Don't have to go through Cigar Peg. Contact them directly. So with that, I'm real excited to jump into this. Our first speaker is DARCY LUOMA, who has been involved in physical and mental fitness her whole life. And she's learned a lot about peak performance in her 23 years competing in triathlons. Yes, triathlons. She's used that expertise to help more than 500 organizations in 48 industries create high performance people and teams. Her efforts to train her body to get physically fit served as the inspiration to help people train their minds to get thoughtfully fit. Please welcome dog lover, cat napper, and mom of 2 teenage daughters and teenage cats, DARCY LUOMA.
How much do you pay attention to those voices in your head? I'm serious. Perhaps right now your thoughts are saying, how many speakers are there? I can totally multitask and listen at the same time. Or maybe your voices are critiquing me. As a master certified coach, I help people notice those voices in their head. Over the last 20 years, I've coached entrepreneurs, leadership teams, difficult employees, and even a Super Bowl champion. People come to me looking for results. How can they be more productive? How can they find better work-life balance? How can they not get fired? I've found that clients see the best results when they notice those voices in their head and then choose how to respond. So, allow me to be your coach for the next few minutes. We're going to explore how you too can get better results by asking one simple question. Is this thought serving me or sabotaging me? Okay, let's start with sabotaging. Are you the type of person who trash talks the other team while watching football games? You call that a block? You don't even know how to throw the ball. Well, we all do that to some degree. It's part of the fun. But what isn't fun is when we start trash talking ourselves. You're not good enough. You don't deserve this. Different names have been given to these voices. Saboteurs, inner critics, gremlins. I call them trash talkers because they're working hard to prevent us from achieving our results. And they can have a serious impact on the actions we take. For example, one of my clients' loudest trash talkers insisted that her ideas need to be fully developed before she speaks up at a meeting. So she didn't say much. And as a result, she was often passed over for projects and promotions. Another client's trash talker constantly asked, what do other people think? Therefore, every action he took was through that lens, even if it meant playing it safe and disappointing himself. Okay, let me tell you about my loudest trash talker. She shows up a lot. No, you're not done with that yet. It's not perfect. You can't apply for that, DARCY. You're not ready. I'm not sure you'll ever be ready. I know her so well, I've named her Little Miss Perfect Pants. When my triathlon coach encouraged me to compete in my first master swim meet, At the tender age of 45, Little Miss Perfect Pants went berserk. Swim meet? Get real, Darcy. Your flip turns are horrendous. You'll look ridiculous. Now, you might be thinking I'm going to teach you how to eliminate those trash talkers when they show up. No, you'd be wrong. Little Miss Perfect Pants, and frankly, all the others on my itty bitty shitty committee, shows up almost every day. There's no point in trying to eliminate any of my trash talkers. It'd be a waste of time and no more effective than the quarterback trying to hush the opposing fans. What I do with my trash talkers and what I help my clients do is to notice them and then ask, is this thought serving me or sabotaging me? Now, this question is critical because our thoughts lead to our actions and our actions lead to our results. So if your thoughts are sabotaging you, your actions will as well. For instance, let's say you're asked to bake 6 dozen cupcakes for this Friday's fundraiser. Your first thought might be, you can't say no. They won't like you. That leads to your actions. You start making the frosting and say goodbye to binge watching Better Call Saul. The result? You spend the entire fundraiser feeling huffy and resentful. However, if your thoughts are serving you, your actions will too. With your cupcake conundrum, your thoughts might be, okay, come on, Darcy, you don't need to be a hero here. So your actions? Yeah, make a quick run to Costco and then turn on Netflix and enjoy some popcorn. The result? You enjoy the fundraiser and secretly smirk every time someone asks you for the recipe. So what about you? What thoughts sabotage your success? Are you curious about what happened with Little Miss Perfect Pants in the swim meet? Well, she sure tried hard to stop me from going. And I mean, in fairness, she had a point. My daughter could do better flip turns when she was 6. On the morning of the event, oh, she was worked up. You're going to lose. It'll be so embarrassing, Darcy. But I didn't let her decide what I chose to do next. I went anyway, and I had a blast. I didn't win any of my races. Heck, I didn't even win my heat. And I'm pretty sure I kicked the guy on my flip turn who was in the lane next to me. He still finished ahead of me. But oh my gosh, I just loved the energy and the rush of doing something that I had never done before. So I'd like to leave you with a thoughtfully fit core workout. The next time you hear that voice in your head, hit the pause button to notice it and think, is this thought serving me or sabotaging me? If it's serving you, great, take action. If it's sabotaging you, well, congratulations. You're human. It's perfectly normal. So don't pile on with more sabotaging thoughts about how you're always thinking sabotaging thoughts. Instead, just pause to think about your choices and how you can act thoughtfully. Because thoughtfully fit isn't about training to only have serving thoughts. It's about training to notice those trash talkers before you take action. When you're aware of those sabotaging thoughts, they won't lead to sabotaging actions. You can choose your response and set yourself up for success to get the best results. Thank you so much to Ed and Cigar Peg and everyone who is attending this virtual showcase today. I really look forward to connecting and enjoy the rest of the speakers.
Thank you, Darcy. That was an awesome presentation. And I got to say, that was such a cute picture. Little Miss Perfect Pants, she's so cute. I can see how it's hard to turn her down. Okay, let me move in to our next speaker, ERIK Dominguez, CSP, that stands for Certified Speaking Professional, is an expert on leadership, communication, and storytelling. With over 25 years of experience, ERIK energizes and equips leaders to overcome communication fears and inefficiencies and confidently speak up their stories. His programs are for organizations that want to use the connecting power of communication to turn prospects into clients and increase employee productivity and retention. His Speak Up, team-oriented approach centers around a philosophy that everyone has a unique story and that anyone can share their minds and hearts with confidence, power, and yes, a lot of fun. I give you ERIK DOMINGUEZ.
Good morning. There are many advantages to virtual events. There's also a few disadvantages. One of the disadvantages that I have found is that in every virtual event, inevitably, somebody starts to talk only to realize that they are on mute. In fact, I'm confident that 100% of the people watching this have experienced that. And you start to say something brilliant, impactful, hysterical, only to be kindly reminded, hey, ERIK, we couldn't hear you, you're on mute. It's a little bit dejecting having to start over. But I don't think that that feeling is exclusive to virtual events. In fact, I'm clear that 100% of us have experienced the feeling of being on mute. We are having a conversation or giving a presentation in whatever context, face-to-face, virtual, phone call, and the people on the other end can hear our words, but our words aren't landing. They're not informing, they're not inspiring. And again, it's really dejecting. And you know what's worse? What's worse is the feeling of putting ourselves on mute. I call it the lump in our throat. It's when our minds and our hearts, our thoughts and our feelings collide right here, and we can't find the right words to say, or we can't find the courage to say exactly what we want to say and how we want to say it. And really, it's because we're afraid. We're afraid of rejection. We're afraid of failure. And we're afraid of ridicule. I have known that feeling quite well throughout my life. I was born in Mexico, and I spent the first 8 years of my life there. And then when I was 8 years old, we moved to the United States. And even though I had proficiency in English, I quickly found that my English, it wasn't quite good enough for the English speakers. And I also found that my Spanish, well, it wasn't good enough for the Spanish speakers either. And I kept making mistakes and getting ridiculed. And I remember one instance in particular. We were in the classroom and we were doing some sort of an activity, and I made a grammatical mistake, and suddenly the class erupted in laughter. And I stood up wanting to speak up for myself, and I said, hey, I know my words aren't good now, but they're going to get gooder. Not my best comeback ever. So I created a story in my head that in order to stay safe, I needed to stay silent. And I think that a lot of us live in that particular story, especially leaders. But leaders know that leadership is not about staying safe, and it is not about staying silent. Steve Zaffron and Dave Logan say it this way in their 3 laws of performance. Leadership is empowering others to rewrite the already existing default future and to realize goals that weren't going to happen. From this definition, 100% of leadership happens through conversations that pull people into the game, not through sitting back and creating visions that then need to be sold. Confident communication is the front door to all leadership. Now, most people think that confident communication is about hand gestures and podiums and PowerPoints. Now, those are the mechanics of communication, which don't actually work if there's not a powerful intention behind them. It's kind of like making a car look really shiny and new with a brand new paint job, except it doesn't have an engine. Yeah, the car looks great, but it's not really going anywhere. And the intention starts with us. You see, confident communication is knowing yourself, knowing your message, and having the courage to share that message with others. In my programs, which can be virtual or in person, I walk you through confident communication experiences to amplify your voice so that you can speak up in the way you want to speak up. The first experience is worthiness, where we take an inventory of our past accomplishments and skills and talents and eliminate the imposter experience so that we understand that worthiness fuels our words and that we are worthy to be heard. The second experience is authenticity, where we speak how we want to speak. We use the words and the way that we want to speak those words in a way that inspires and motivates our audience. And finally, we experience power. I walk you through the 3 T's of confident communication, which radically transforms your confidence, not just in communication, but in every facet of your life. And when we experience worthiness, authenticity, and power, not only does our confidence build, but when leaders lead from that space, their results, they get gooder and gooder and gooder. Thank you all so much. I'm so excited to be connecting with all of you soon.
Thank you, Erik. Hey, Erik, I'm pretty darn happy that you decided to speak up. And yes, in fact, you are gooder. Is it gooder, better, or best? Congratulations, Erik. And Erik, loved your shirt. It's something I would wear. I just don't have it. If you want to send me one, that would be awesome. I'd love to have one. I'll wear it at a future showcase. Okay, enough of that. Let me move into our third speaker. Susan FITZELL. I've known Susan for quite a long time. She's an international speaker and author. Susan is a Master of Education, Master Degree of Education. She's a CSP, Certified Speaking Professional. She has decades of experience working with education and business communities to maximize human potential in the learning and growth space. Susan's own neurodivergence was diagnosed the same day as one of her children. The doctor said, "The apple doesn't fall far from the tree." Understanding the struggles of someone whose brain is wired differently, she's passionate about creating a world that empowers and values neurodivergent talent. I give you Susan FITZELL.
Thank you, Ed. Did you know that 30 to 40% of the world's population is neurodivergent? And out of those that are neurodivergent, 85% are unemployed. And many of those unemployed people are in the autistic spectrum. So what is neurodivergent? Neurodivergents are people whose brains are wired differently from birth. They might include people in the autistic spectrum, people with dyslexia, OCD, ADHD, dyspraxia, and more. Now, the other word we need to know here is neurotypicals. And neurotypicals are humans that fit the cultural norm. Then there's neurodiversity, and that's when we have both neurodivergent and neurotypicals in a meeting or at our workplace. And the latest buzz is that neurodiversity is a competitive advantage for companies. Yet, companies struggle to achieve neurodiversity and the payoff that comes with it. You see, neurodivergents have great skills and talents that companies are missing out on. One reason we're missing out on them is because they can't get through an interview. Why? Because how we interview favors neurotypicals. And we use artificial intelligence to filter resumes, and artificial intelligence favors neurotypicals. So we're not even seeing the resumes of people who are neurodivergent come across our desks. And the shame of that is neurodiversity is a competitive advantage. How do we know? Well, companies with neurodiversity and autism at work initiatives have collected data to determine the success of their programs, and they've been very successful. But the reality is that they're still largely unemployed and underestimated. Why don't we see their value? Well, I'm going to make a confession. I've been doing this work my entire career. And not long ago, I was asked to deliver a keynote for the Down Syndrome Guild of Dallas. I was looking for an activity similar to one I'd shared with audiences for years called Famous People with Learning Disabilities. And I wondered, are there any famous people with Down syndrome? I'm kind of ashamed to admit that I did not expect to find anything in a Google search for famous people with Down syndrome. And then I did the Google search and I was shocked. I was wrong. There are famous musicians, famous artists, famous actors, and more. I could go on and on. I was like, wow, I had no idea. It made me look in the mirror at myself and my own biases. And because I'm a person who's been working with neurodivergence my entire life, my entire adult life, I felt bad that I seriously underestimated the capabilities of people with Down syndrome. I had a blind spot and I didn't even know it. Well, we usually don't know what our blind spots are. Not most of us, we don't know. I guess that's why they call them blind spots. We don't see them. So what's the challenge for us? Well, first, to become aware of our blind spots. Why? Because blind spots impact our perceptions and influence our decisions and what we expect from people and our employees. It impacts our relationships with people. Let's go back to 1957. Let's transport back in time. An immigrant from Canada came to the United States and got a job shoveling coal at Western Mass Electric Company in Springfield, Massachusetts. He shoveled coal every day to work to support his family. But he decided he wanted more out of life. Now, this is 1957. There is no internet. So he took a correspondence course. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's when you take a course through the mail. He was literally mailing back his tests and getting his coursework through the US mail. And he wanted to become a mechanical engineer. He worked shoveling coal by day and he studied by night. He graduated in 4 years. A few months later, he saw a job posting on the board at Western Mass Electric. They were looking for a mechanical engineer to work on the team in the control room. So he grabbed his diploma, filled out his application, and brought it to his boss. And he said, I'd like that job. Now, luckily for him, that boss, if he had any biases against that coal shoveler, if he thought, you're just a coal shoveler and you want to be an engineer, he put those biases aside. And he hired Larry to be part of the team in the control room. Larry went on to spend the rest of his career working as a part of that control room team, as a loyal, hardworking, divergent thinking employee. And he was able to provide well for his family. I knew Larry because Larry was my dad. And I'm grateful that his boss didn't have the biases or use them against him, because he was able to provide for his family and a sister with special needs that's still here and needing his care. And it's a good thing that there were no biases in that hiring situation, because bias limits what we can gain from a diverse team. Remember, neurodiversity is proven to be a competitive advantage. And recognizing our unconscious biases helps your association members create workplace cultures where teams can maximize the benefits of divergent thinking. And they can foster an environment where all employees feel valued. Because when employees feel valued, they tend to become more loyal, hardworking, and motivated. Imagine the difference this can make for your members. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. I too am pretty pleased that the boss hired Larry, because if the boss didn't hire Larry, we would have never met. So that was a great story. And, you know, it's interesting. Neurodivergence is something that's coming to the fore. And it would be my guess that a lot of associations either should or need to or are bringing this topic up for their members at their conferences. So, Susan, thank you very much. The next speaker is Jamie Champagne. Jamie is beyond her passionate BA title and truly embodies business analysis and adding value to those around her every day. An accomplished speaker, author, and trainer, she enjoys sharing with others ways to improve their analysis skills, unique ways to look at the world, and how to be more productive with measurable results. You can find her speaking around the world, both in person and online virtually, on topics such as business analysis, process improvement, project and change management, and productivity and leadership. She is an accomplished author with her book, 7 Steps to Mastering Business Analysis, which is in its 2nd edition, and published courses that she has on LinkedIn and Pluralsight. When Jamie's not collaborating with her business partners, you can find her collaborating with her friends and family on the Hawaiian waters on a surfboard. I give you Jamie Champagne.
Thanks, Ed. Change is hard. No one likes to change what they're used to, yet we all do it daily. What to wear, when and how to get to work, what to order for lunch. Yeah, you who are still standing in front of me this whole time in line to order lunch, and when you get to the counter, you're still changing your mind. Yeah. So now why do some changes stick and others are just a flurry of energy that disappears the moment the project is over? Good question. Now for me, I love these sticky problems. I actually enjoy working on changes. Change-based work gets me excited, but I have that secret weapon for success. I employ that tactic that not only drives results, but creates positive value long after the change has been implemented. The secret to getting changes to stick and be successful is collaboration. See, change is about perspective. It's hard to get someone else to change because you're changing habits long ingrained. You're trying to change belief systems and foundational ideas. Sure, we've all experienced the world changing around us that forces us to change, but this can be rough and unwelcomed. When you approach from a collaborative perspective, now you're looking for buy-in from those doing the work. You're facilitating commitment to a team and larger entity than the individual. You're shifting the focus from making them feel like part of the problem to becoming part of the solution. Now I know my toolbox is full of these big words like elicitation, facilitation, decomposition, but those are simply the key ingredients in successful collaboration. The trick is getting others to work together. You get the teams collaborating with each other so that you're just the guardrail. You want them thinking every idea is their great idea, that every option is possible if they work together. And this applies whether we're working in person, virtual, or those hybrid setups. Let me ask you this. Have you ever been in a room and people are talking and you ask a question or state an idea. And then the group starts talking so excitedly, they like almost forget you're there. Yeah, that's what you actually want. You want to facilitate engagement amongst the participants so that they're focused intensely on each other and the problem at hand. That's where those good ideas, and more importantly, the buy-in emerges. When you get people truly collaborating, and we're talking more than just teamwork here. Collaboration is about working together with understanding. That you need to instill this idea that the sum of the team generates way more value than each individual contribution. And as simple as it is to identify this secret sauce, we all know it's way harder to implement. But that's where awesome people like me come into play. From small process improvement in daily operations to those intricate and detailed technology projects to major digital transformations. The approach is the same and the results are phenomenal when the teams are collaborating. But you just need someone to guide them along the way though. There's got to be focus on the right things at the right time with the right people. And that's what my job is. That's what real business analysis is. I love that I get to ask why all the time. Why? Because that breeds understanding and clarity on what is being done, for whom, when, how. And when the details can be worked out, then the team focuses back on their purpose. They're clear on their goal, and that's what's needed to make all those project-based decisions. It's so easy to make decisions and plan the work when your target is clearly identified. Everything just bounces off the goal. If an idea doesn't support the goal, you don't do it. Again, the team needs to agree on that, and they need someone asking, why are we doing this? Why do you feel that will contribute? You need someone getting clarity from all involved on what success looks like, both today and tomorrow. And that's the real power of a successful business analyst. Business analysts are way more than the requirements person on the project. They're the glue that holds things together. They connect those higher level management goals down to the detailed implementation plans. Yet they bring the team along on this change journey. People like me are so busy championing the change and exciting energy in the stakeholders that we get them actually now welcoming that change. When you can shift the focus to how soon can we get it? Or what do you need from me to make it happen? Now you have truly shifted mindsets. They have bought in and are 100% committed. And that's what you need. You need motivated teams, excited and energized to bring these great change ideas to fruition. Even the boring compliance requirements or regulation changes. You need to ignite some energy that the results are so worth the efforts. Again, back to those goals of why are we doing this? And keeping everyone focused on positive change outcomes. So if you're interested in collaborating more and engaging on some exciting change work that produces long-term lasting success, then I look forward to connecting more with you and seeing how we can collaborate for some great change work. Thanks, Ed.
Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate that. And you know, collaboration is very near and dear to my heart. My first 3 books were for strategic alliances, and you are absolutely right. You know, teams that just tolerate one another, not good enough. That magic collaboration, Jamie, you are so on target. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank
So
you.
let me move on to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Robert Grossman. He is the founder of Black Diamond Leadership. He leads programs on emotional intelligence, interpersonal communications, trust, and psychological safety. He works with organizations on to improve engagement, trust, and teamwork. Please welcome Robert Grossman.
Ed, thank you very much for that recommendation. I have a story to share with you today. So there I was in a ballroom in the brand new Del Mar Hotel in San Diego, California. The year was 2007. My company at the time provided creative and technical production services for large corporation meetings and events. For the 10th year in a row, my company was producing the Deloitte & Touche Technology Fast 50 Award Show, which ranked the fastest 50 growing tech companies in a given region. It's important to note that I was in the process of winding down my production company to launch Black Diamond Leadership, my current company. And I just completed a 2-year-long intensive training and certification program in leadership, team development, and emotional intelligence. It was 10 a.m. and the doors to this event were scheduled to open at 11:45 a.m. The room was set and we were ready to go. I was sitting in the back of the room on my tech riser with my audio engineer and lighting director. I was reviewing the show flow, making sure that everybody knew what was going to happen. When a person approached the tech riser dressed in a tuxedo and said, "Who is in charge here?" I looked up from my notes and I replied to him, "I am. How may I help you?" He introduced himself as the maitre d' and said to me, "There is a gap in the pipe and drape surrounding your tech riser and it doesn't look good and I'd like to ask you to fix it." I reacted in a way that I never reacted over the 20 previous years. I saw red. Yep, that was me at the time. I was mad. I looked down at him and I conjured up the nastiest and meanest voice and looked at him and said, "Yeah, I know about it. We'll fix it." By the way, until that moment, I didn't know that there was an issue with the pipe and drape. With a look of shock on his face, he turned to walk away. After a few steps, he turned around, looked at me again and I said to him in the same nasty voice, "What is your problem?" He replied, "Nothing. What is your problem?" We were like two kids in the kindergarten sandbox. And he continued to walk away from the back of the room. When he turned around one more time with disbelief and shock on his face. This time I stood up, all 6'5" of me, and I was about to say something when out of the corner of my eye, I noticed in the front of the room, my client was working on her script, oblivious to what was happening. It was at this time, at this moment, I realized that I was about to do something terrible and lose everything if I didn't change the situation. See, I realized I was having what I call is a key moment, which is defined as an event that triggers a strong emotional reaction. My training over the past 2 years kicked in, and I knew that I needed to figure out why I was responding later, but immediately I need to turn the situation around. I took a few deep breaths and I noticed the maitre d' was standing in a small circle with other hotel staff pointing their fingers back at me. My audio engineer, with shock on his face, said, "Robert, I'll fix the pipe and drape." After he fixed it, I walked over to the maitre d'. Before I go any further, let's break down what was happening inside of me and what happens with people who work for you and maybe even yourself when you face a challenging moment. So we call this the key moment response chain, and it begins with an event. And in this situation, the event was the maitre d' telling me that there is a problem with the pipe and drape. Well, I experienced that key moment through what I call a paradigm. And a paradigm is nothing more than a set of filters that we experience the external world. And then we have an internal experience based on our paradigms. Based on that paradigm, I had thoughts about the event. And obviously my thoughts were not favorable at the moment. I was thinking how embarrassed I was that I missed such an obvious thing. And then my thoughts switched to, who the heck is that guy in a cheap tuxedo suit anyway? When we have automatic thoughts, without training, those thoughts can be unconscious, spontaneous, negative, believable, irrational, and distorting logic. So when we have these thoughts, those thoughts influence the feelings that you have. And the feelings you have, at that moment, I was feeling mad, anger, my pulse rate was increasing. Based on those feelings, I had certain actions. And we know what my actions were. I was nasty. Well, I knew that in that moment, I was headed down what I call the pathway of survival, where I was assuming no responsibility and I was blaming other people for what was going on. I knew that the results from that were going to be devastating. What I needed to do was stop and change down the pathway of self-mastery, where I was present in the moment. I was living in the present, not in the past or the future. I was assuming responsibility for what was going on. And that would lead to a whole nother set of positive results. So let's take a deeper look at this. So we're all human and we all have emotions. In fact, our brains are wired to experience life emotionally first in our limbic brain system. Following that, we have the amygdala, which is responsible for the fight and flight mechanism inside of our brains. What we need to do is learn how to stop that process and engage our rational brain, and that is emotional intelligence. So I call this the moment of choice. And the moment of choice is when we choose to be present, we understand what's going on, and we choose a different pathway. So how's the story end? Well, I walked over to the maitre d', tapped him on the shoulder, looked at him and said, you know, I bet you and I have the same objectives. We want a successful event. Come on back, take a look at the pipe and drape. He was shocked. He looked at it and said, it looks great. Not 5 minutes later, did he come back with his clipboard and say, hey, Robert, can I talk to you about the show flow? See, in that moment, we became a team. And that was such a successful event. Now, the event ended, what happened? A group of people came rushing up to me. And they said, hi, we're with Qualcomm, and we have an event just like this next month in San Francisco. And we want to fire our current company and hire you instead. Never before did I get results like this. The maitre d' shared with me that 5 people in the audience already signed an agreement to have their next event at that hotel. So my story was an awards show, but it's not unique. When leaders respond to events and situations negatively, they destroy trust with their teams, engagement and morale declines, which leads to turnover. I'm going to close with a quote from the Harvard Business Review. There is a robust correlation between profitability and companies led by managers and executives with a high level of emotional intelligence. They found that after supervisors in a manufacturing plant received training in EI, accidents were reduced by 50%, and the plant exceeded its productivity by $250,000. Wouldn't you like your team, your leaders, trained in emotional intelligence to handle our upsetting events, which happen on a regular basis? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert. Appreciate that. I'm really glad for you that that you decided to go tap the maitre d' on the shoulder, hand him $100 bill, and decide that life was going to be better. Great story. Very, very good story. Let me move to our last speaker, if I may. It's MARCIA DASZKO. She is your pivot provocateur. MARCIA's laser focus can pivot your thinking and your members' thinking about leadership. You can then achieve results like never before. Ken Blanchard says about MARCIA, she's a life changer. Dan Pink says, she's full of counterintuitive advice. She will shake up your thinking. As a catalyst for strategic change and innovation, MARCIA asks questions to help you discover new opportunities. As her mentor, Dr. Deming taught the Japanese after World War II, she navigates leaders out of their crises and to healthy exponential growth. MARCIA's magic as she engages with her audience to unleash their own power and fulfill their highest potential. Welcome, professional speaker MBA professor of leadership and author of the best-selling book, Pivot, Disrupt, Transform, MARCIA DASZKO.
Thank you, Ed and team. And hello to everyone here today. I'm excited to be here, and my aim is to provoke your thinking. Why would I do that? Well, for over 25 years, I've seen leaders and their teams struggle, flounder, decline, and even fail in their organizations and in their businesses. So why is it that some leaders and organizations fail and others wildly succeed? What's happening? So we have choices. So for example, in 1955, the first Fortune 500 list was published. And today, more than 60 years later, the Fortune 500 list doesn't have the same participants as it did. So now more than 60% of those corporations no longer exist. So Kodak, Blockbuster, Enron, Pan Am, Eastern Airlines, Circuit City, many organizations just poof, gone. What if in 5 to 10 years, we didn't have Apple or Amazon or Walmart or Boeing or some of the biggest associations that you're familiar with? What about your association? So one of the questions is, can we pivot? Can we disrupt ourselves and our organizations? Can we transform? So pivot really means an abrupt change in direction to meet an important need. And then we need to disrupt our own thinking and the thinking of those around us because it's no longer sufficient. And to transform is not mere change, is not mere improvement, but instead transformation is going to a new level with a new mindset that we've never experienced before. It's like the caterpillar becoming the butterfly. Once transformed, the caterpillar doesn't go back to being a butterfly. So let's check that out in ourselves. What about you? Can you pivot? Can you disrupt yourself? Can you transform? Let's try this little exercise. It's very quick and very fun. So what I invite you to do is fold your hands. Notice which thumb is on top. Now take your hands apart, fold them again, but put your other thumb on top. Now I'd like you to cross your arms. When you cross your arms, notice which arm is on top. Now take them apart, cross them again, but put your other arm on top. How do you feel? Most people say, I'm uncomfortable. They don't fit. That doesn't work. And I don't like that change. If we don't like a change, what do? We go back to the way it was before. And that was just a simple little exercise for less than a minute. And if we aren't comfortable, we immediately want to go back to the status quo. But improvement and innovation and creativity and pivoting and transformation doesn't happen in the status quo. It happens when we say, oh, well, if we have a buggy whip and we want to improve and improve and improve, we're not going to get to the car and the electric car from a buggy whip. We've got to transform our thinking. So improvement is not enough. We are going to have to really change so that the changes that we make are so powerful that we don't want to go back. So what I'd invite you to do is, I really want to inspire your natural leadership. I know everyone has it. And sometimes it's deep inside. My mentors pulled it out of me. And some people have that natural leadership right under the surface. And we just need to give them opportunities to participate and display it. So figure out, where are you? You don't have to have the position or the title to be a natural leader. You can make a difference everywhere, at home, with sports teams, at school, at work, in society, in your community, giving back, volunteering at organizations. There's so many opportunities. So we want to see problems as opportunities. We want to go after the needs that we see out in society, and we want to find the possibilities, and we want to create the solutions. And we can do that together. So when we see that there's waste and complexity and silos and not enough communication and direction on our teams, in our organizations, with our members, we can adopt new strategies, because I've never gone into an organization yet and seen less than 50% of waste and complexity. And sometimes it's 50 to 80%. So what are all those barriers that are stopping us from achieving what's so possible that we are not even aware of what's possible? So our organizations are full of management fads, buzzwords, best practices, and we have to stop those. And we have to start thinking differently so that we can transform. So there's a foundation of management. There are tools, business models, strategies that we can use and adopt that will help us go forward together. We can make a bigger difference on our boards of directors, with our customers and members, on our teams, and we individually can contribute to that team to make the difference. So join me on that journey, that learning journey to your success story, and think about, what can we transform to offer our teams and our members something amazing and powerful for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia. And I want to thank everybody that took the time to come and watch this video. Marcia, I'm sure that you are the person that's going to help them with disruption. So let's talk about Marcia. Thank you to Robert. Thank you to Jamie. Thank you to Susan. Thank you to Eric. Thank you to Darcy. And behind the scenes, the Mind Shark, Joe Crusello. He is the person that's back there making it all work. Appreciate you all. Wanted to also just not forget to mention to everybody that's watching this, you can pretty soon, within a day or two or three, you can go to the Virtual Speakers Hall of Fame. You can click on directory and you can find each speaker, their individual video, go to their website. You can click on past showcases. You can see the showcase in its entirety. And for any of the association executives that are watching, that will be at ASAE this summer in Nashville, we will be there. We will have a booth and we'll be talking about the Virtual Speakers Hall of Fame. We'll have some of the videos of the people you're seeing up, and we hope you come by the booth. We're right next door to Marriott, so you should find us very easily. Everybody, thank you so much. Appreciate you being here.